Hi, my name's Llyr Morris and I'm a Development and Planning Manager with Castell Group. So my job is to manage our projects through increasingly complex Welsh planning system. Today we're going to be answering the kind of key questions that have been raised on social media. So planning permission is the formal process of applying to the local authority for permission to build different types of buildings. So at Castell, we focus mainly on residential properties, affordable dwellings, but you will need to apply for planning permission for all types of buildings, such as schools, hospitals, even for extensions. You also need planning permission for refurbishments, and that's also something else that we do at Castell. And the purpose of the planning process is just to make sure that people build the right developments in the right places and to make sure to regularise building and construction. You need planning permission if you're going to advance significant changes to your property, whether this is an extension to your residential house or changes in the land use. But in Castell, we mainly need planning permission to build new houses. So you need planning permission if you're going to make any real kind of changes to the property. So extensions would need planning permission, but internal changes, they generally don't need planning permission. At Castell, our scale is much bigger than your usual residential extension, and we need planning permission for kind of all of our developments, because we tend to build kind of flats and blocks of flats and new houses which have much larger scale, and they need then a lot more evidence to support than if you were doing just a side extension to your property. How long it takes, it varies widely. It depends on the nature of the project, so what the scale of the project is, what issues they've found on site, and it can take a long period because there are a number of different steps that we need to take to go through the planning system. So it can generally take over a year to 18 months to go through the required steps, which are pre-app, which we submit initially to the local authority to get some initial information. Then there's a statutory process that we need to follow, which is the PAC, so pre-application consultation, which is a 28-day process where we advertise our draft planning application online for people to comment on our proposals. And then there's the formal application process where we actually submit the information to the council for them to consider. So that is generally supposed to be an 8-week process where they consider the information and they get information back from their consultees. So people like Natural Resources Wales, Highways, Welsh Water, etc. But in reality, that process does take a lot longer than the 8 weeks it's supposed to take. So to apply for planning permission, the best way is to go through the processes that I mentioned before. So it's going through the pre-app first to get that informal advice from the local authority about whether they're going to accept it or not. Then for larger projects, you have to do the PAC that I mentioned, so the 28 days, and then it's the formal submission. In terms of the formal submission, you do that on the local authority or Welsh Government's portal, which is called the Planning Portal, and you make the submission there, and then that goes to the local authority for them to consider it there. You need to submit a lot of information as part of your planning application, and again, it depends on the nature of the site what information you need to submit. So it might be things like transport surveys to see the level of car parking required. It could be ecology surveys to measure the impact that it would have on ecology. So yeah, the amount of evidence you need to support an application varies depending on the scheme. So planning applications can be refused for loads of different reasons, but the main ones really are that they're not policy compliant. So the local authority will have guidance on what they think is acceptable or not in terms of where the development is located. So that's kind of the main thing. So if it's not located in the right place, they're likely to refuse it. But then there's site-specific constraints as well. So things like ecology, and that's particularly prevalent at the moment because there's new legislation that's come in, what they call a material planning consideration. So yeah, ecology is of particular note at the moment, but highways, so the impact on highways is another issue, or even the design of the proposed doesn't fit in with the surrounding context. So they're kind of the main ones to look out for really. A lot of people ask me, they come to me with a plot of land and ask, oh, can I get a planning permission for a house or something here? And it's really difficult to give them advice because it depends where that is. You know, is it next to existing properties? I would always advise them to approach a planning consultant initially, so someone to give them initial advice about whether or not it would be suitable for development, because not all land is. It's got to be in the right location, like I said before. Run it by a planning consultant initially, because they'll be able to tell you whether there's any likelihood of you getting planning permission on the property. So there's lots of different abbreviations in planning, and you know there's a lot of nuances. So there's there's NMAs. So there's different types of planning applications. So one of them is an NMA, so non-material amendment. Then there's Section 73 applications, which just means that you vary an existing consent. Then there's outline planning permission. Then there's full planning permission, reserve matters, discharge of planning conditions. So yeah, there's a lot of different types of applications depending on where you are in the process. So it is quite complex, but once you've got your head around it, it's not too bad. If you're struggling with getting planning permission on something, I would always suggest going to a planning consultant who can talk you through what you need to do in the first instance. It's just a case of knowing the process, because it's not that straightforward if you haven't done it before, whereas if you do it day to day, same as anything, it does get easier. There are a number of different ways to get into planning, because there are two kind of sides to it. So you can either be a kind of private consultant, which is what I did. So I worked for a planning consultancy before I got a job with Castell Group. Or you can work as a planner for the local authority, which considers the applications that are then submitted, and they consider the acceptability of them. So they are the decision makers then. So they are the ones that assess whether it's suitable in that location and whether it would have any negative impact upon things like the environment, traffic, local privacy and amenity, all these kind of different issues. So it's for them to make that judgment call. Whereas the planning consultancy side is to make sure that the planning application is as robust as possible, and it's kind of preempting the issues that might come up on the site. So for instance, if you think the highways might be an issue, you commission a transport survey so that you can then assess what the impact of the development will be, and try and make sure that you tick off all the concerns that the local authority will have. Thank you very much for this. I hope it was helpful, and if you've got any kind of questions, please put them in the comments, or send them across to us.